The countertop is in place. It's been siliconed all the way around, and pretty pleased with how it turned out. I like the way it turned out. So we'll take a closer look at it here. You can see the depth of the color in it, and here again, this is the colors that we chose for our kitchen. But the sky's the limit. You can do whatever color you want. There's no end. So anyway, I'll grab this GoPro and we'll come in a little tighter. You can see the depth of this, and then we'll go out in the shop and I'll show you how we came to this point. So we have some reflection, of course, from the lights under the cabinet, but I think you can see the color. And when you look at it from a different angle, you get different colors. The backsplash I did all in one. You know, I laid this out end to end so that when we put it together, the different whatever you want to call it, striations or, you know, lines would somewhat match up, so it looked like it was out of one piece of rock. So that's how they did this countertop in two pieces. And so here's the seam, and it's right dead center behind the faucet, so it's obscure. I don't have any problem with it at all. People aren't even going to pay attention to that. So this is what it turned out to be. I like it. You can see the marbling in it. See this marbling that looks like fracture marks in marble? It's up here, it's down here. Look at the depths of these colors. I'm very pleased. Now when you build these, you want your colors to form over the side. You don't want an edge here. You want it to look like, you know, it's stone, so the colors go all the way through this piece of rock. So right here in this corner, I pushed it with the heat gun so that it would flow over this corner, and it just looks like this was all cut out of one piece of stone. So anyway, why don't we just go right out here and I'll show you how I came to this point. So before we get started, what I want to do is show you what you're going to have to do an epoxy countertop in your house. So the first thing is you've got to have the epoxy. So this particular one, this is the hardener. And then these, and then this is the resin. I've got it upside down so that when we use up those gallons, it'll be, you know, at the end of it. And I order my epoxy from Stone Coat Countertop. I see ads of other places you can buy it. Maybe the same stuff. I don't know. I think the price among them all is pretty similar. But I've just had good luck with the epoxy from Stone Coat, so I'm just staying with it. Then you're going to need some containers. You know, this one is a 4-quart container, and then you can go all the way up depending on how big of an area you're doing. This is 10 quart, and then these little ones, you're going to need these small ones are just what are these, a quart maybe? So you're going to have to gather all of that. Now these containers, they're not very expensive. It's kind of deceiving when you order this stuff. And I think talking to someone I work with who uses this, and they actually buy it from another place, and it sounds like they're all the same. When you buy this, it will say enough to make enough. It'll call it a 2-gallon purchase. But yet, what that means is when you mix that gallon to that gallon, you get 2 gallons. When I first did this, I was under the impression that I would get 2 gallons of resin and 2 gallons of hardener. But that's not how it works. You get 1 gallon of resin, 1 gallon of hardener, and then when you put them together, you have 2 gallons. So just be aware of that when you order this, for your project. So you're going to need just regular old rubbing alcohol. Of course, you're going to need whatever color that you're going to be doing. Now, what we do is kind of a marble surface. And with our home, if you've watched my other videos, it's all Barnwood, rustic. So we kind of want earthy tones, in it, but yet we want some color. So you'll have to decide what countertop, your color is, but the technique is exactly the same. So here's what we use, and here again, we get this from Stone Coat Countertop. We have one called Metallic Coffee. We have one called Gold Metallic. And then we have one called Mystic Moss Metallic. Those are the additives that we use. And then we have blue, and this is nothing special. You can go to Walmart, buy this stuff. This is the blue we use. We have black, and we could use this, but instead, so we actually have this black dye, and we buy that from Stone Coat. And you can get dyes. If you go on the Stone Coat website, which, by the way, I have no sponsors, so I'm not promoting them. That's just what we use. But you can get dye for all of the colors. We could probably get a dye for that blue right there. Which maybe down the road, as we move forward through the house and get into like the bathroom countertops and things, I might do that. I don't know. But that dye is extremely concentrated, and it takes just a drop or two to get the effect you need out of that much epoxy. And then also we have white in our countertop. And then the thing that my wife and I love the most is when we're done, we apply this marble spray. And here again, that comes in different colors. And you'll see how we use it, but it just changes the entire appearance of what you're doing. And that is that, and then you're going to need paper towels. You're definitely going to need rubber gloves. Have plenty of those babies on hand. And you're going to have stirring sticks. And that will get you going as far as the mix goes. And then you're going to want plastic. You're going to want to cover your entire floor with plastic. And then the tables that you're working on, you're going to want that covered with plastic. Now, I put, like the countertop, I put boards underneath of it that the countertop isn't, and I don't want them sticking out, because what will happen is as the epoxy runs over, it will glue your surface to those boards. You can break it loose, but it's a lot easier to not have anything sticking out all the way around the countertop, the surface that you're working with. So you're also going to need a heat gun. This is nothing special, but you want one with a blower. You want this thing to blow, because I use it to not only push my colors around, but I use it to blow on the air bubbles and knock the air bubbles out. Now some people use one of those small torches you can buy, and that's fine, to take the air bubbles out. Not to move the epoxy around, but just to take the air bubbles out. But I have found that just to have one tool to do it all, this heat gun does it all. It'll move your epoxy, allow you to work with it, and then you can go back over it and blow out the air bubbles. One more thing I didn't mention is once you get the your color on and it has been allowed to dry. Now normally I sand it. Let me get that. Now, once your epoxy is on and dry, which usually the next day I do this, but because of my work schedule, etc., I couldn't get back on this till today, and it's been a week. A week ago today is when I poured this. But that's okay. What you're going to do is go over it with 220 grit sandpaper. And you're just knocking the, there's a little roughness to it where I sprayed the marbling on there. There may be a little air bubble here that we missed. And you're just smoothing it out, and you're also giving it a surface for your final clear coat of epoxy to adhere to. Because you're going to mix your epoxies again, except no color in it, and you're going to put it out on your surface. You're going to spread it around with this lightly. I just put enough weight on. I just kind of let the weight of this be the weight, and I cover the surface. Now I've seen videos where once you got the epoxy on there, they chop it with a brush to get rid of any lines in it. And I did that on the first countertop, but then and then it was full of air bubbles that I had to then go back and work at getting all the air bubbles out. So what I did on the last countertop was I just spread this epoxy on there with this only, and the epoxy is self-leveling. I just spread it on there, and I didn't chop the surface, and it just self-leveled like it's supposed to do, and I didn't have near the problem with all the air bubbles to try to get out, and the surface is just as smooth as the one I chopped. So I don't chop it anymore, and I won't chop it on these. But that is what you're going to need to do this. So there's one piece of this that I wanted to tell you about, and this is the vital piece. you have to be able to figure how many square feet of surface you've got, convert that to gallons or ounces to determine how much chemical you're going to need. So in the case of this countertop, I went out there on the Stone Coat Countertop website. And here again, I'm not promoting those guys at all. They're not sponsors. I'm just telling you how I do it. And they have a little box there that you plug your numbers in. So you plug in length, it'll spit out how many square feet and how much epoxy you're going to need to do the job. So in the case of this countertop, when I plugged in the numbers, it came up with 1.64 gallons. So it is 20 gallons, or it's 20 square feet per gallon. So it came up 1.64 gallons. And then on my phone, or on your phone, you can go out there and you can get a app that will convert gallons to ounces, which in this case 1.64 gallons was 210 ounces, and then you divide that by 2. So 105 ounces of resin, 105 ounces of hardener. And then you know what to mix. So let me tell you again. I go to the Stone Coat Countertop website. I plug in length and width. It tells me my square footage and how many gallons it's going to take to do it. And then I go on an app that I have on my phone and I plug in the gallons. It converts it to ounces. Divide that by 2 because of hardener and resin. And so in this case, I needed 105 ounces of hardener and 105 ounces of resin mixed together to do this pour. So I hope that helps you, because that you don't see that explained much anywhere. So anyway, I hope that helps.